Solving some first folio enigmas. Viewers are probably asking themselves, why am I so convinced that the number 17 is important in the authorship game? I hope this video will clear things up. Why are there mistakes and enigmas in the first folio? I believe they are based on this idea from John Dee's Mathematical Preface to Euclid. But how far these visible ones do differ from our indivisible units in pure arithmetic, principally considered, no man is ignorant. Yet from these gross and material things may we be led upward by degrees, so informing our rude imagination toward the conceiving of numbers, that at length we may be able to find the number of our own name, gloriously exemplified and registered in the Book of the Trinity, most blessed and eternal. They are also based on this idea, also from the preface. Arithmetic can detect and convince and clearly make the truth to shine. I believe most of the mistakes in the first folio are related to the following. The catalog of plays from the front matter of the first folio. Before we begin, please note that the comedies and tragedies could have been put in any order. The history plays, however, follow the historical narrative from King John to Henry VIII. Question 1. Why does each section start on page 1? Two. Why are there misnumbered pages? 3. Why are there 5 blank pages in the text? 4. Why do only 2 plays have full page actors lists? 5. Why is Troilus and Cressida not listed in the catalog of plays? This is perhaps one of the most perplexing questions in the production of the first folio that scholars have had since the book was published. 6. Why does Troilus and Cressida not have numbered pages throughout? 7. Why is Cleopatra spelled incorrectly in the catalog of plays? 8. Why does the folio have a quaternion group of 16 pages in the middle when the rest of the book is made up of ternions, groups of 12 pages? In order to clarify the answers to all the other questions, we're going to have to answer this one first. Why does the folio have a quaternion in the middle when the rest of the book is made up of ternions? Here is the evidence. George Watson Cole, in his paper The First Folio of Shakespeare, a further word regarding the correct arrangements of its preliminary leaves, published in the Proceedings and Papers of the Bibliographical Society of America, Volume 3, 1909, wrote, "The first edition of Shakespeare is a folio volume composed almost wholly of ternions, which are groupings of 3 sheets, each group consisting of 6 leaves or 12 pages. In a single instance in the body of the work, the histories, there is a quaternion, a gathering of 4 sheets of 8 leaves or 16 pages. In a single instance in the body of the work, the histories, there is a quaternion, a gathering of 4 sheets of 8 leaves or 16 pages. I believe that this is a reference to a theorem by this man, Dr. John Dee, the most famous polymath in Elizabethan and early Jacobean England. In his book Monas Hieroglyphica, published first in 1561, he wrote the following. Here's my pathetic Latin, but I hope people understand it. Unde quaternarium hic demonstramus in ternario quiescentem. Roughly translated, this means the quaternity is concealed within the ternary. As you can see in the 3 triangles in the middle of the screen, if you connect them all by their apexes, they create a hidden 4th triangle. Dee and other mystics of the time felt that the 4th item, the quaternity, is there to hide a profound truth. To understand the significance of the quaternity, we have to figure out where it is located within the catalog of plays, within the body of the text. Here you see a partial listing of the histories. On the right, or on the left, pardon me, we have the play's initials. In the middle, we have the page. And then on the right of these columns, we have the signature, the collator's signature from A to Z, which tells collators where to place the sections. The quaternion begins on page 87 in the second part of Henry IV with GG as the signature at the bottom of the page. The last part of the quaternion begins on page 93, GG4. It's located just before H, which is where Henry V, the misnumbered play, begins. I believe that it's no coincidence that Henry V begins on the same page that Theorem 20 begins in Dee's book. The last section of the quaternion contains a profound truth in the epilogue of plays, which will be featured in a video, The Secret Heart of the First Folio. Let's do a simple count. If we begin and end the quaternion with our counts, we'll find the following. There are 17 plays listed before it, and 17 plays listed after it. I believe that this is a reference to, an allusion to, the triumphal structure in which Roman emperors paraded through the streets of Rome where the emperor was at the center, exactly where the quaternion is located in the physical structure of the book. That means the spoils and people at the beginning of the procession before the triumphant emperor are the first 17 plays. People and spoils afterwards are represented by the last 17 plays. Now we can answer question number 5. Why is Troilus and Cressida not listed in the catalogue of plays? This provides a logical answer. Adding it would disrupt the symmetrical triumphal structure of the catalogue. Adding it would prevent readers from understanding the importance of the number 17. In addition, why are the poems excluded from the first folio? For the same 2 reasons. Adding them would disrupt the symmetrical triumphal structure, and it would prevent readers from understanding the importance of the number 17. Presenting the Boog Enigmas. This is what started me on this interesting investigation. This is Robert Boog, a realtor from California. Several years ago, he wrote this book. Hang Shakespeare. In it, he provides a little interesting discovery he made in the catalogue of plays. These, then, are the Boog Enigmas. The first one is that when you take the 6 words spelled, the first 6 words, numbers, pardon me, from the titles of the history plays and add those numbers up, they add to 17. The second one is the next 4 numbers also add to 17. The third one, the last 3 numbers also add to 17. The 3 Boog Enigmas each add to 17. What makes me so sure that these exist? Well, the first and second one and the second and third one are separated by 5 words each. It was while looking at this that I found the following. What I call the 2 Henry IV equation. If we are asking ourselves, what's the significance of the numbers in the catalogue of plays, and that we found 3 puzzles already that add to 17, can we find any more? Well, one night I was looking through this section and just puzzling it over. When I found my first discovery in the title for the second part of Henry IV. It begins on page 74. Seven plus 4 2 plus 4 equals 6. Plus 6 is 17. Being a skeptic, I needed evidence. So I sat back and took a bird's eye view of the catalogue of plays and paid particular attention to section. The left-hand archer in this ornament is Cupid before he kind of devolved and shrunk back in age to being an infant. The archer on the right is Heracles. The figure in the middle is a very pregnant Juno. To either side on the bottom corners are strange heraldic beasts called Ceilidh greyhounds. The first question I asked is, what is the sight line for Cupid, and where does he point to? In other words, what's the target for the archer? The target is the page number for the first part of King Henry IV. If we draw a parallel line along the sight line of the Ceilidh greyhound below him, we find that the target for that animal's sight line is the page number for the first part of Henry VI. That leaves the page numbers for the second part of Henry IV and Henry V exposed, as it were. Now, if you were to draw another sight line across from the comedy section along the uppercase decorative T to the end of the page, the far right, you'll find that the number 69 is targeted by that sightline. As you can see, the decorative T is set oddly below where it should be. You would expect that the upper arm of the T would be level with the upper parts of the H and the T in the title for The Tempest. Instead, as you can see by the sightline, it is absolutely along the baseline of the title for The Tempest, and it cuts right through to clip the first digit in the page for the life of Henry V. When put together, all three of these sightlines leave the page number for second part of Henry IV exposed. That was enough to tell me that, yeah, I'm probably on the right track, because otherwise, why would they have put the page numbers so accurately so that the sight lines match? Furthermore, if you look at the S in the word comedies, it is lifted up above the baseline of the rest of the line. Whether or not this is intentional or just an accident of the shifting of letters in the case is a good question. But given the precision by which these numbers and sightlines match, I would say that this was intentional and a clue that you're supposed to see a sightline from the Ceilidh greyhound to the page number for the first part of Henry VI. Whether or not this is found in all of the catalog of plays for all of the extant first folios is a matter of another investigation. But if it is further evidence that there's a game afoot. It was while looking at this that I made another discovery. Like finding a new type of archaeological artifact, this discovery has no precedent that I know of. It appears to be unique to this page. In this slide, you can see the catalog of plays is framed on the left by the catalog from the works of Ben Jonson, and on the right by the first folio of Beaumont and Fletcher's plays, and that catalog. As you can see, neither Jonson's nor Beaumont and Fletcher's first folios have numbers, page numbers, attached to their titles. They're blank. It was while contemplating the Henry plays, the first 4 of them, that I kind of scratched my head and said, what's going on? Henry V begins on page 69. The second part of Henry IV begins on 74. That's a difference of 5 pages, backwards from the beginning of Henry IV, part 2. If you look at the actual text, you'll find out that Henry V should begin on page 103. Curiously, 103 minus 69 is 34. Double the number of plays before and after where the quaternion is located. Here is what's called the Henry Trilogy, the first and second parts of Henry IV and the life of King Henry V. It's kind of like a biography of Prince Hal, who becomes King Henry V after his father dies. It was while looking at this one night that I discovered an amazing puzzle. And I ask viewers to pause here to try and figure it out themselves. Should they figure it out themselves, all the rest of what I describe will be, wow, yeah, that's true. Because when I figured this thing out, it became an aha moment. And I found out that what I was going for and what I was looking at actually existed. Here's a hint for those who need them. Think of the triumphal structure. Also think of where the quaternion is located. In 5 seconds, I'm going to reveal what I discovered. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. These digits, the page number for the first part of Henry IV, which is a 4 and a 6, and the first part of the page number for the second part of Henry IV, a 7. You add 4 plus 6 plus 7, you get 17. It is equal to the number of plays before and after the quaternion. Now, I'm sure that viewers are going to be ahead of me on this one, but I'm going to continue and show you what the rest of this discovery is. 6 plus 4 plus 7. 7 plus 4 plus 6. 17. 4 plus 7 plus 6. Going vertically down the left-hand sides of these page numbers. When you add those 3 up, you get 17 again. What I discovered was 4 permutations of numbers hiding in plain sight that add to the number 17. The last two permutations are why Henry V had to begin on page 69 rather than 103. After I discovered that, over 2 years afterwards, I discovered that this is a quaternity concealed within a ternary. How? 4 permutations hidden within 3 digits. To give us a third example, there are 4 permutations of digits hidden within 3 play titles. This satisfies the triascent omnia principle and tells me that we are on exactly the right track that we're supposed to be. The number 6 in the page for Henry V is essential to those last 2 puzzles. Without it, there would be only 2 puzzles, and it would not satisfy the triascent omnia principle. Also notice that the lowercase letters in the first and second parts of Henry IV are hints to pay attention in fourth. Also notice that the page number 69 is a mirror of page 96, another clue that something is going on in the catalog. I ask myself, are there any more examples? Yes, there are. Presenting a new type of puzzle. It follows 4 simple rules that we have already seen. 1. You add individual digits. You can use digits more than once. 3. The digits must touch each other horizontally and or vertically. There are no direct diagonal puzzles. 4. The sum must be the target number of 17. Here are some examples. I'm going to give you some examples from the comedy section. The Merry Wives of Windsor begins on page 38. Measure for Measure begins on 61. 3 plus 8 is 11, plus 6 is 17. Comedy of Errors, Much Ado About Nothing begin on page 85 and 101 respectively, and Love's Labor Lost is 122. So we take the remaining digit from Measure for Measure, the 1, add it to the 8 to get 9, add the 5 to get 14, plus 1 is 15, plus 0 is still 15, plus 1 is 16, and plus 1 is 17. The next example I call a regular adding ladder block because it utilizes all the digits in 3 play titles. Much Ado About Nothing is 101. Love's Labor Lost is again 122. And Midsummer Night's Dream is 145. So 1 plus 0 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 4 plus 5 is 17. The next example is taking the 3 digits from Midsummer Night's Dream and adding them to the first two digits of Merchant of Venice. 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11, plus 6 is again 17. Finally, the 3 from the Merchant of Venice plus all 3 digits from As You Like It goes like this. 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 8 is 12, plus 5 is 17. This is a chart of all the comedy adding ladders that I have found in the catalog. Adding ladders 1, 9, and 10 utilize the same digits of 3, 6, and 8. This shows a very sophisticated knowledge of number patterns. Also, these puzzles, these equations, descend like steps in a ladder. The next logical question, is there a clue they exist? To answer the question number 7, why is Cleopatra spelled incorrectly in the catalog of plays? Here you see it. It's got a spelling error. It's Cleopater, not Cleopatra. Also notice the larger size letter in the uppercase C. If you compare the sizes to the uppercase C in the Comedy of Errors, you'll notice that the C in Cleopater is from a larger size type. In fact, it's around 33% larger than the A in Anthony, and a clue that something is going on in the catalog. So as while looking at this, you notice these 6 digits, 3, 1, 0, 3, 4, and 6. When added together, they come to 17. When I discovered this, the logical question I had was, does Anthony and Cleopatra start on page 346 or 310? Either way, it still shows that there's something going on beneath the numbers. It just so happens that Anthony and Cleopatra begins on page 340. But the next question, and it's very logical, is is the play supposed to start on page 346 or 340? You only have to look at the facing page to find out that Othello ends on page 339. And that means catalog's entry is wrong. Furthermore, it presents us with 3 mistakes. First, the page number is wrong in the catalog of plays. Second, Cleopatra is spelled differently. It's misspelled. The father of Cleo, I guess. And third, the uppercase C is larger than the uppercase A in Anthony. Like the quaternions and the quaternary, this presents a trios ant omnia principle. There's more. Add the digits in the catalog entry. Add to that the gematria value of the uppercase C in Cleopatra. Add the gematria value for the A in Anthony. picture? 1 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 plus 6 equals. The next question is Othello correct? Again, we go to a facsimile of the first folio and we find out it is. But this is going to bring me to another one of these enigmas in the first folio, involving Lear and Othello. Like Othello and Antony and Cleopatra, all 6 digits in the page numbers for Lear and Othello add up to 17, and they are hiding in plain sight. 2 plus 8 is 10, plus 3 is 13, plus 3 is 16, plus 1 is 17, plus 0 is still 17. The question I asked again was, is Lear on the correct page? Yes, it is. But there is a catch. And this one's a really important discovery. Hamlet begins on page 152. A couple leaves over, we have page 156. However, the facing page is 257. That's a difference of 101 numbers. What's going on here? Why is this a mistake? Does this mistake even exist? Well, it just so happens that if they had not skipped those 100 page numbers, Lear would not have begun on page 283. That told me these mistakes are intentional. Hamlet's skipped page numbers enables the compositor to put King Lear on page 283, so that when those digits are added to where Othello is located, we have the number 17. Cleopatra is spelled incorrectly in the catalog. To draw attention to the wrong page number for Antony and Cleopatra. And yet there is more. I discovered this just a few weeks ago, and this is a mind blower for me. And I bet you it's going to be for you too. If you add 283 plus 310, you get 593. 5 plus 9 plus 3 is 17. $310 plus 346 is 656. 6 plus 5 plus 6 equal 17. For me, this goes way beyond chance, and it's a sign that there are lots of interesting puzzles in the first folio, and this is one of them, the adding ladders. I'm going to show you the charts for the adding ladders and show you what I've found out. Here are the tragedies adding ladders with Anthony and Cleopatra, Othello's adding ladder block step in the red ellipse underneath the red arrow. And here is Lear and Othello's adding ladder step. What's in the red ellipse underneath the red arrow in the Histories adding ladder channel, or chart, pardon me, is what really looks familiar. And of course, 1 plus 7, 173 plus 2 plus 4 equals, you're going to get another interesting number. But the shape of this is exactly like a Tau cross and could be another indication that they have hidden God's hand in the construction of the first folio's front matter in the creation of the plays. Here are the adding ladder charts in which shows 43 adding ladders. In the Latin alphabet repeated count, 43 is equal to VV. Not long after I discovered the adding ladders that I discovered bridges. To find it, you have to look at the entire page. The first 2 digits of the Gentleman of Verona. When added to the last 2 digits of Cymbeline's page number, you get 17. The page numbers for The Winter's Tale, King John, and Richard II when added to the first part of Henry IV's first digit, you also get 17. The final bridge is when you add the life of King Henry VIII's page number 205, the digits in that, to the digits of Coriolanus, which is 1, Titus Andronicus, which is 3 and 1, and the first digit to Romeo and Juliet, which is 5, you also get 17. This gives us the triasunt omnia principle again. But what we also have here is a continuous flow of titles connected by the number 17. It's like a great chain of being surrounding the plays. Furthermore, all but 2 digits are used, which is an indication that we are on the right track and these puzzles actually exist. Again, you have to look at the entire page and all of the numbers to figure it out. What's missing is the first digit for the Tempest, or this page number for the Tempest. Second digit for the life of Henry V. Remember that misnumbered play? Thinking about this one night, not long after I discovered it, I asked myself, well, if these 2 plays titles are connected by this weird fact that they both have a digit that is not used in these adding ladders, what else can connect them? So just off the top of my head, I decided to add up the gematria values to the italic H and T in the title for The Tempest, to the gematria values of the uppercase letters in the title The Life of King Henry V. And what I came up with was, but remember that we have two page numbers that are not being used. So I figured let's add these page numbers together, the 1 and the 9, and subtract them from the total of the gematria sums that we already had. 81 minus 10. 71 is the mirror of 17, in exactly the same way that the page number for Henry V is the mirror of the first part of King Henry VI. There's more. You have to go back to the catalog and look at the title page numbers where the plays start. Timon of Athens begins on page 80. Hamlet begins on page 152. Here's the title page for The Life of Timon. Obviously, if it begins on page 80, the page opposite to it is going to be 81. 8 plus 0 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9. 8 plus 9 is 17. Hamlet begins on page 152. Once again, the facing page opposite is 153. 1 plus 5 plus 2 is 8. 1 plus 5 plus 3 is 9. 8 plus 9 is 17. What are the odds that two of the most autobiographical plays in the canon begin on pages whose two-page digit spreads add up to the number of plays before and after the quaternion as listed in the catalog of plays? Furthermore, we have misspelled words. As you can see, the title for Timon has a Y in it. Every header in the play subsequent to that begins with the letter I. Tragedy in Hamlet begins with an I or ends with an IE. Yet, in the title for the tragedy of Coriolanus, there is a Y. You can swap the Y and the IE for each other and still get, or at least the I for each other, and still get the same titles. Timon with an I, tragedy with a Y. However, what you can do is a gematria sum. Life of Timon, the top letters of the Life of Timon, remember that it's got a Y instead of an I, is 163. The tragedy of, with an IE, has a gematria sum of 119, or 17 times 7. In a future video, I'm going to show you why that is very important in the authorship game. Adding the two sums together, you get 282. But as we have seen in other puzzles, we can subtract things that are different from a sum total of things. So let's subtract the number of letters from that gematria sum. There are 27 letters in these two titles, the top lines of these two titles. The answer is 255, and the result is divisible by 17. 17 times 15 is 255. These questions can be answered with a single answer. Why does each section start with page 1? Why are there misnumbered pages? Why are there 5 blank pages? Why are there full-page actors lists for only 2 plays? Why does Troilus and Cressida not have numbered pages throughout? It's so that these 2 sets of pages will have page number digits that individually add to 17. Also, it's so that these page numbers will match the numbers in the catalog of plays. But wait, there's more. This is something I discovered not too many weeks ago. And again, it's one of those mind-blowing things that I think viewers will say, oh, wow, that's something. These 3 plays, The Winter's Tale, Life of King Henry V, and Antony and Cleopatra, are misnumbered. The Winter's Tale does not begin on page 304 as it says in the catalog of plays, but on page 277. As we have seen, Henry V begins on page 69 when it's supposed to begin on page 103. Finally, Antony and Cleopatra starts on page 340, not 346. What I did was added the wrong page numbers together because they are the things that connect these 3 titles. These are the numbers: 304, 69, and 346. Get your calculators ready. When you add these 3 numbers, something remarkable is shown. 304 plus 69 plus 346, 119. 7 plus 1 plus 9 gets better. If we add the page number for Cymbeline to that total, we have 304 plus 69 plus 346 plus 369. And that gives us the remarkable sum, 1088. 17 times 64. 1 plus 0 is 1, plus 8 is 9, plus 8 is 17. This is the largest number, which I call a digit sum number, that I've found. Those 4 digits add to 17. Wait, it gets better. Just for fun, I did a gematria sum of all the titles in these plays. Remember, the comedies and tragedy sections could have been in any other order than what you see here. But when you add the uppercase gematria values in these 3 titles, you get 136. 17 times 8. So what does it all mean? First, I'll answer these 6 questions. Let's start with the first one. Why does each section start with page 1? Sir Israel Gollancz, in the Introduction to Studies in the First Folio, published by Oxford University Press in 1924, stated, "It seems quite likely that the original plan was to issue the collection in 3 folio volumes. Now we know, however, that they begin on page 1. So that the adding ladder puzzles could be created, so that page numbers for the titles will match those in the catalog of plays." Sorry, Sir Israel, you're wrong. Number pages in the text, and also on the catalog of plays, so that page numbers for the titles will match those in the catalog of plays, so that the digits for the 2-page spreads that begin Timon of Athens and Hamlet will add to the target number 17, so that the wrong numbers in the catalog have digits that add to 17. Why are there 5 blank pages, and why do only 2 plays have full-page actors lists? Here we get into the motivation behind the misnumbering of the plays. The idea was to increase the number of pages so that no text had to be removed. Finally, we can answer these 4 questions, these first 4 questions, with a single logical answer. Why does each section start with page 1? Why are there misnumbered pages? Why are there 5 blank pages? Why do only 2 plays have full-page actors lists? So the page numbers for the titles will match those in the catalog of plays. We have already answered this question. Why is Troilus and Cressida not listed in the catalog of plays? The catalog of plays has a symmetrical triumphal structure, placing the section which has the quaternion in exactly the same place where the triumphant emperor would be in a procession. Also, so that there are 17 plays listed before the second part of Henry IV and 17 plays listed after it. The location of the quaternion. The number of plays is a clue. The number 17 is important throughout the folio. This is the major reason why I consider the number 17 to be of primary importance in the authorship game. It is evident all over this page. Why does Troilus and Cressida not have numbered pages throughout? The numbering would interfere with the adding ladder puzzle scheme. And in a future video, I will see, and I'll show you rather, that the 2 page numbers in Troilus and Cressida also contribute to more puzzles. Why is Cleopatra spelled incorrectly in the catalog of plays? To draw readers' attention to the page number for the play, then figure out why it is misnumbered in the catalog. Why does the folio have a quaternion group of 16 pages in the middle when the rest of the book is made up of ternions, or groups of 12 pages? First, to allude to John Dee's Theorem 20, the quaternity is concealed within the ternary from his book Monus Hieroglyphica. The quaternary always, in this Christian mystical tradition, shows a profound truth, or says that there is a profound truth hidden somewhere. It's also to let readers know that an important truth is hidden within the quaternion. A little bit of a teaser, it's located in the epilogue of plays to the second part of Henry IV, which should be on page 101. but the page number is blank. There is proof these puzzles exist. All the title pages share a common trait. Horace Hart, in a letter to Sir Sidney Lee, wrote, "The rules used for borders, columns, and headlines were mostly brass, and the expert will notice here and there in the center column rule little projections made by the bodkin of the compositor in correcting the proof. Nor will he overlook the fact that in beginning plays, brass was not used for the center column rules, but pieces of metal rule were used instead, doubtless with a view of saving the cutting of the longer brasses." You will find this in the introduction to the 1902 Oxford Press edition of the facsimile of the first folio. It's available online on the Internet Archive. Go to it, download it. Here are a selection of center columns from the title pages. We have left to right, Hamlet, first part of Henry IV, The Tempest, Henry V, Lear, Macbeth, Othello, Romeo and Juliet, Timon of Athens, Antony and Cleopatra, and The Winter's Tale. Here's the one for Hamlet. The arrow is pointing to the first gap, the bottom of the column. And there are 14 gaps, meaning there are about 14 little tiny pieces of metal separating the two sections of the page. Now, imagine doing that for all 36 plays. That would give us around 432 pieces of tiny metal, of which 95 are shown here. How much time would it take? The little inset engraving shows a typical printing press from the 16th and early 17th century. The figure underneath the one is a compositor who is actually creating a line of type. The one in the middle, next to the two, is a person who is checking over the printed page and removing it from the frame, also known as the coffin, to put it on the pile of paper in front of him. The person underneath the three on the far right, he is inking up the platen, or the numbers and words that are in the case, with ink using what's called inker's balls or printer's balls. Sorry, I don't know what they're called, but anyways, there's ink on those two little discs. What you can barely see behind the first compositor is the arm of a second compositor, and you can also see his butt sticking out from behind the guy's waist. That represents only 4 people in the print shop. You would have more compositors setting up the type into cases, tying them up with string, and getting them ready to be put onto the printing press. You also have the printer himself, who's probably out of frame, and he's the guy who's going to press down on that printing press on the far right to print up the pages. Then you have people who are going to take the pages, the printed or the finished work, take apart all the letters from those cases and put them back into the trays, which you can see just to the right of that yellow arrow. Finally, in a busy print shop, you will also have boys known as printers' devils, who are running around, gathering up sheets of paper, picking up spilled letters off the floor, sweeping things, clearing things, painting, or cleaning, plaiting. And you also got the people who are sending the books off to the booksellers. And in a busy print shop, you would also have more than one printer. You would have two printing presses. Isaac Jaggard, for the first folio, I believe he had three of them. Correct me if I'm mistaken, but I think he had three. That kept him busy. So that would be 3 times the number of people you see here, just to take care of putting the type into the cases, taking pages off of the coffins onto the finished table area, and also to ink up the letters and even engravings. So in a print shop like Isaac Jaggard's, you would have at least 24 people running around. So how much time would it take? Furthermore, you would have visitors coming. You would have editors coming. You would have people, brokers for writers. You would have writers themselves coming with manuscripts. You would have more people reading the stuff. You would even have nobles coming in, seeing whether or not what is printed will be libelous. You would also have the censors, government censors and church censors coming and going unannounced to see that nothing seditious or libelous would be printed. The question is, how much time would it take to put more than 400 little pieces of metal onto 36 title pages? I believe the title pages were set before the rest of the text and stored off-site until the book was ready to go to print. Page numbers for the title pages would match the numbers in the catalog of plays. This explains why the title pages have small metal rules for center columns instead of long brasses. This includes Troilus and Cressida. This is also proof the play was to be included from the beginning. It was not an afterthought. Now we have puzzles by the number. We have the 3 Boog enigmas, the 2 Henry IV equation, 43 adding ladders and 3 adding bridges rather. Sections linked by the number 17, title page digit sums for Timon of Athens and Hamlet, plus misnumbered pages on the catalog of plays. All of which involve the number 17. This is strong evidence, if not proof, that the title pages were set before the text. And don't forget the 2 Cali greyhounds were heraldic bearers for one family's coat of arms, and only one family's coat. Now I'm going to present you with one more enigma before we end this video. Look at the page that Cymbeline starts on. It starts on page 369. If you add the digits to this page number, just like you did for the adding letters, what you get is 18. That's the first part of our enigma. This is something I discovered not too many weeks ago. If you take the gematria value of the misspelled name Cleopatra and add all the uppercase letter values to the last possible uppercase letter on the page, Britain, and add them up, you get 18 again. Now, Hamlet's number 1 digit to the adding ladder block step for King Lear and Othello also adds to 17, or 18 rather. If you only add the number 2, the digit 2, but remove the one from Othello's page number, you also get 18. These 5 plays have little tiny puzzles that add up to 18. Is it coincidence that the three play titles on the top have puzzles that add to 17, while the ones in the bottom add to 18? As before, this gets a lot better, folks. If we do a gematria sum of all the uppercase letters in only these 8 play titles, the first part of Henry IV, second part of Henry IV, Life of Henry V, Tragedy of Hamlet, King Lear, Othello, Antony and Cleopatra, and Cymbeline, King of Britain, the gematria sum remarkably comes up to 278. 2 plus 7 is 9, plus 8 is 17. That's one more reason why the first and second parts of King Henry IV have lowercase letters for the second numbers that are spelled in the titles. So, what connects 17 to 18? Other than the fact that 17 comes before 18, and if you were to list things, 17 would be above 18. I believe that this is related to he was the 18th Earl of his family line. And of course, that means his father was the 17th of his line. Their family motto was Vero, Nihil, Verius. Nothing is truer than truth. And it begins and ends with VV. Remember, we have 43 adding ladders. This is what I consider to be strong evidence, if not proof. The catalog of plays is telling us Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, was Shakespeare. Thanks for watching. Don't miss part 2, more catalog puzzles, because it gets better, folks, and it goes way beyond chance. Stay safe.